George is your typical 2-year-old boy, fun, cheeky and full of life. And he can eat for England. George loves animals and in particular loves my mum's dog, Bob. I was actually at work on the Friday afternoon and my mum sent me a video of George walking Bob on his lead. I think as a parent, you just know that something's not quite right. On the Saturday morning, he'd had his breakfast as normal and he'd eaten that, but he was a little bit clingy and had a bit of a temperature, so I gave him some Calpol to bring his temperature down, but it never came down, it started to creep up. So we went to the walk-in centre and George was seen by a doctor, but because he started being sick, we went to the emergency department. I thought he had norovirus because he started with really bad sickness and diarrhoea whilst we were there. So when we got to the emergency department, because we'd already seen a doctor, we were automatically sent to AAU, where he was observed by a nurse. George was sleeping and seemed quite lifeless. An hour went by, he started to go grey and his eyes seemed really sunken in, and the nurse came over to me to ask about his colouring and whether or not that was his usual colour. And then she quickly picked up that he had developed a rash on his chest. It was that small that I'd not seen it and I'd not noticed it. Things started to deteriorate really quickly. His heart rate started to go really, really high and his blood pressure was getting lower and lower and he needed oxygen. I think what I found really hard to believe was yesterday he was walking my mum's dog to eating his breakfast this morning and then we were here.
Sepsis is your body's response to an infection where it damages its own tissues and organs. It is a serious life-threatening condition, but it is rare in children.
George was on a ventilator for 6 days and spent 3 days on HDU. We have never been in this environment before, and to be put onto intensive care, it's a whole new world and something that is petrifying for parents. The team at Sheffield Children's was absolutely unbelievable. I think because of their communication, how calm and composed they were and how they looked after us as parents. And then they came to us and said that George was well enough to make his recovery on ward 2.
A bit wobbly, aren't you, darling? Oh.
I met George and his family down on ward 2 during his recovery. They're a lovely family. A huge amount of the credit has to go to the wards that cared for him and looked after him so well. It's important to recognise sepsis early because the faster we spot the signs and symptoms, the easier it is to treat.
Every single person that looked after him, cared for him, they are nothing short of miracle workers, and honestly we cannot thank them enough. They saved George's life. They just repeatedly said to me, "You have got him in at exactly the right time. If I hadn't have got him in when I did, the picture would have been very, very different."
At Sheffield Children's, we're trying to improve patient safety We're doing this by educating staff on the signs and symptoms to look out for, how to escalate these concerns effectively, and how to treat within the appropriate time frame. If you want to know more about sepsis, you can visit the NHS website or the Sepsis Trust, which gives advice on symptoms and where to seek help.